She was blinded by the light. That's a song. Well, actually, it's an EDM banger. Another one, man. This fantasy playlist teeming with those EDM records. BPM, EDM, electronic dance music, BPM, beats per minute. I like beats per minute better, but EDM is starting to grow on me. Just something very prestigious about that word EDM, electronic dance music. And at number 5, a duo that's gaining recognition, been gaining loads of recognition in the EDM universe, in the EDM ecosystem. It is, excuse me, E-Twins with Rossi, Rossi. I'll just talk about E-Twins. Blinded by the Light. They did a remake of Blinded by the Light where they took the chorus and some of the lyrics and they just kind of looped it over again. And even though this song was obviously constructed for the dance floor, I do believe this would be fun to play on radio, at least on the mix shows. As a matter of fact, I want to try to lean this record to make a case for it to be played on pop radio. E-Twins with Blinded by the Light at number 6, up from number 14 on this fantasy playlist of May the 8th, 2022. I might have officially took that thing up to number 1. It's definitely, this is a record that is built. It is sturdy, built on arena proportions. This is an arena-sized dance record right here. And boy, I listened to this record for weeks and weeks and weeks on Spotify. Even way before I put it on the fantasy playlist. Just enchanted every time. It starts off, it builds the iconic synth in the original version, builds, it swells, and then booms, comes crashing down into a trough, a quiet, that iconic keyboard of the original version of Blinded by the Light, and then it just goes off to the races again. I love it when that beat kicks in too. It's like a soup-up hot rod just roaring down the speedway, roaring down the EDM speedway, and just taking you with it, man, taking you to the circus and just having a good time listening to the record, or maybe even dancing to it. I'd probably have a good time dancing to the record if I didn't have 2 left feet. First off, there's 2 things I want to talk about. E-Twins, and then I'm going to talk a little bit of the history of the record Blinded by the Light. E-Twins are from the UK. Mark and Alistair Blackham, and based in Edinburgh, Scotland. That's where it started at. And they became part of the house scene there when they were 16 years old, real young. Eventually, they built up a reputation. They opened a nightclub in Edinburgh called Eye Candy, which supposedly was the biggest nightclub for a while in Edinburgh. And that's how they got their name. They took the EC part from Eye Candy, and they called themselves the EC Twins. And they became actually influential figures of EDM. Although, to be honest with you, I'm not really that familiar with them. I probably just ran across the name on down the road over the last 9 or 10 years or so, but just never stuck in my mind until now, until I heard this, this Dynamite remix. You got to check out this record. But they migrated to Los Angeles. They performed in small clubs in Los Angeles, and once again, they just have a knack of building up their reputation. The money that they made, they poured it into their music, they poured it into their performances, and eventually they, I hate to use the word graduated, and I can't think of the right word right now. The right word will come to me after I'm done with this video. I know it will, and then I'll say to myself, dadgummit, why didn't I come up with that word? Well, basically, they went from a local following to a worldwide following, and they were fully embraced by the EDM community. They they grabbed hold of them, the electronic dance music, when they came out with a remix, and the song was called... bear with me, I got it down here somewhere. Young and Beautiful by Lana Del Rey. They did a remix of that in 2013, and they've done a number of remixes since then, including a remix of Adele's Someone Like You, which did very well on the Sirius XM dance music charts. And they've got residencies in places like place called Life in Las Vegas, Create in Los Angeles. They got residencies in all the major markets I mean, they haven't not necessarily cornered the market, but they definitely made a name of themselves in some of the bigger, in some of the major markets here in the U.S. San Francisco, Chicago, Miami. And so they got this record out right here. They came out with Blinded by the Light. Blinded by the Light, the original version written by Bruce Springsteen back in 1973. Now, here's the deal about Bruce Springsteen. The first album, his first attempt to make an album did not impress Columbia Records. They said, look, you need to write a song that can be played on the radio. So Bruce Springsteen, he wrote Blinded by the Light in his bedroom, and ostensibly he used it as a rhyming dictionary because his rhyming dictionary had burned. And it's a personal record. It's filled with people that he's grown up with, some life experiences, walking down the Broadwalk, Asbury Park, taking in images and stories from people or people that he's met, and it's just flashes of things that just pass by. It's a very surreal. It's a brilliant record, and as a matter of fact, and I do remember this vividly, there was a time when Bruce Springsteen was considered the new Bob Dylan, and that was way back in the day. This was back in the Born to Run days, even before that. I can't believe it's been almost 50 years ago now. It's amazing how time flies. But some of the references, some of the phraseology in the song, like Indians in the Summer. There's a phrase, Indian in the Summer. That is a reference to his Little League baseball team that he played in when he was a child, Bruce Springsteen. And there's also a reference to Silicon Sister in the song. Silicon Sister, supposedly an exotic dancer with breast implants who performed in a nightclub in Asbury Park. And speaking of that, the album was called Greetings from Asbury Park. That was Bruce Springsteen's first album. And Manfred Mann, now he didn't have the hit with it. That's the thing. Bruce Springsteen did not have the hit with it. Manfred Mann had a humongous hit with this record. They redid it. They threw in a sort of elaborate production of the record. As a matter of fact, Bruce Springsteen did not like their version until the royalty checks from that song, from their version, came in. You know how money, as Cyndi Lauper once sang, money changes everything. But I guess that's the way the story goes. That's what I took when I read about in the researching this record. And Manfred Mann, they took their version up to #1 on Billboard's Hot 100. And it just searing the airwaves. It was just the winter of '76 and '77. It was heating up the airwaves. Probably I just go out on a limb and just say it was overplayed. But it was a genius record. The lyrics are it is sort of Dylan. It is a bit Dylan on this record. There's no doubt about it. So now let's go back to this EDM version now. Let's talk about this by the EC Twins, Blinded by the Light. It's a delightful dance. I love these dance remakes of these old songs that they take, and they did the EC Twins rather, they did a bang-up job on this record. The radio formats for this record is pretty obvious. BPM, dance format, all the way. This could be a hot rotation in a dance. For one thing, it's a familiar, they've taken a very familiar song, an iconic song, and remixed it. So right there, you got the familiar, I can't pronounce the word. It's a song that a lot of people, it's a song that people are familiar with anyway. But pop radio, it'd be nice. I know it'd be hard to kind of throw this into pop radio, but at least at night, like on these Saturday night dance parties, this would be perfect for that, this record. Just perfect when you mix from one song to the other, mix those BPMs from one song to another, or dance remixes. This would be perfect for that, because that keyboard and Blinded by the Light, the chanting Blinded by the Light, that's very familiar right there. I mean, people will recognize it, boom, just like that, and they'll say, gosh, that is so dang cool. Boy, it's one of the coolest records I got on this fantasy playlist at #6. Let's buzz this baby up. It is a buzzworthy dance track. Give a listen to it. EC Twins with Rossi, Rossi, with Blinded by the Light at number 6 on this fantasy playlist of May 8th, 2022.